For my Web 2.0 project, I chose to do a project on dyslexia. So what is dyslexia? People with dyslexia have trouble matching the letters they see on the page with the sound those letters and combinations of letters make. Dyslexic children and adults struggle to read fluently, spell words correctly, as well as learn a second language. So what causes dyslexia? Well, the exact cause of dyslexia isn't exactly known. Anatomical and brain imagery studies show differences in the way the brain of a person with dyslexia develops and functions. So you can see here an image of someone's brain who has dyslexia while reading. You can see which portion is triggered versus someone who does not have dyslexia, and you can see how they have more parts of their brain involved in the reading process. So how common exactly is dyslexia? Well, about 13 to 14% of the school population nationwide has some sort of handicap that qualifies them for special education. And about half of those have been diagnosed with a learning disability. About as many as 15 to 20% of the population as a whole have at least a few of the symptoms of dyslexia. Dyslexia can run in families as well, so parents who have dyslexia are at a much higher percent chance of their children having dyslexia as well. So some of the symptoms of dyslexia. People who have dyslexia struggle with learning how to speak, learning letters and connecting letters with the sounds that they make. They struggle with organizing written and spoken language, memorizing number facts, reading quickly enough to be able to comprehend what they're actually reading, persisting with and comprehending longer reading assignments is a problem. They struggle with spelling, learning a foreign language, and correctly doing math problems. So here's a video of a young girl who has dyslexia. We can see her as she's reading, and we can kind of watch for some of those symptoms and see where she is reading, but she's kind of struggling with that. So we can see that in this video. So we know what dyslexia is, and we know some of the symptoms behind it, but what do we do? How do we treat it? Well, there is no magic pill. There is nothing that we can take to completely cure dyslexia. Most people with dyslexia, students in particular, need help from a teacher or a tutor or a therapist who is specially trained in using a multisensory structured language approach. Many individuals with dyslexia need a one-on-one help so that they can move forward at their own pace. Students with dyslexia also often need a great deal of structured practice and immediate corrective feedback to develop automatic word recognition skills. Students can also receive modifications and accommodations to help them achieve academic success. These modifications can include extra time to help complete assignments, help with some taking notes, or working assignments that are modified appropriately. So dyslexia, for someone who does not have it, who's never had it, it's kind of hard for them to completely comprehend what it actually is. So in this video, we are just kind of given a couple of simulations to show us exactly what it would be like for someone who is living with dyslexia.
Press Alt and Enter to view this movie full screen. This video shows a range of visual effects experienced by people with dyslexia. These include word and line movement, such as rivers, whirlpool, glare, overlap, and disappearing text. Also, floating lines. Text reversal. Notice how numbers can easily be confused. Text flow. Fully justified text can cause problems because of the uneven spacing between the words. Left justified text is much easier to read.
And so that gives you just a little bit maybe of a better example, seeing the different simulations of what it would be like. So that would help you with your understanding better of what dyslexia really is, what it's like, and even give you some ideas what it's actually be like so you know how to better accommodate a student who has dyslexia in your class. So, in 2008, a man named Christian Boer graduated with a degree in graphic design. He loved studying, he loved learning, and he really loved school. But he had dyslexia, and so that made his schoolwork and studying and reading and learning, that made it a little bit harder for him. So he decided to put his knowledge of graphic design into use, as well as his obvious knowledge of what it was like to struggle going through school with dyslexia. And so while doing this, he created a specific font that would allow people like himself who has dyslexia to be able to read faster, to be able to read more confidently and make fewer mistakes. And so this specific font is specifically geared towards dyslexic students because it is written in such a way that their brain is able to understand it and comprehend it better than, say, a regular Times New Roman would be. Since the creation of this font, 72.2% of students who had used this were tested, surveyed, and they said that they could actually read faster, that it helped them quite a bit. And 73.2% of the participants who used this font could read while making fewer mistakes. So, you have a dyslexic student in your classroom. What do you do? How do you help them? How do you make their education experience as good as possible? A couple of these things have been mentioned already. We're just going to touch on them briefly again. A couple of them haven't been. So, visuals. If you can give someone something in a visual way versus putting it in a text format, that'll be great, because they obviously it's less reading, so that can help them understand things without having to struggle through that. Giving people more time to complete assignments, listening to things with like Audible or like ebooks or something like that. If they can listen to it via their headphones while reading it, the text in front of them, that will help them greatly. That lets them make those immediate like word to sound visual connections. So in that sense, technology is going to be your friend. There are many fonts for Kindles, I know, is something that's coming around that allows students to read, have dyslexia in a more comfortable, in a more dyslexic-friendly way, if you will. And obviously, the big one there is just to encourage. Always, never ever allow that student to feel like they are any less than any of the other students. Remind them that they are just as capable, that just because they have to learn differently, that doesn't mean that they are any less of a student, any less capable, any less smart. And yeah, that is my project on dyslexia.